Welcome everyone. That's the very last session today and basically in the whole Drupal Europe. So really welcome, and I'm super happy to see all of you here. And let's do something that I guess most of you do every day, but let's put it to a more sophisticated way: secure Drupal code. First of all, I'd like to give a huge thanks to all the sponsors, but especially to the Drupal and Technology track, which is Platform SH. Who am I? I'm Balazs. That's the middle name that I use. I used to be kind of technical lead of a quality assurance team. That's where I basically got this picture by a friend of mine saying Captain Reject, because mostly I was the one who rejected everything. If you might ever delivered anything like between 2014 and 16 to the European Commission, most probably I was the one who rejected it at least once. I'm working with Drupal since 2007. Around, and currently I'm a provisional member of the Drupal security team. Okay, hands up. Who loves Drupal Europe? Yeah, yeah, that's what I wanted. No, I didn't say put the hands down. Hands up. Very good. And keep your hands up. Who is a site builder? Okay, yeah, who builds sites, you know, like site builder, yeah? Fine, okay, that's a lot. Let's start, yeah, there will be cats. Don't get bothered. Let's start with some demo. Because security is something that is very practical. We will talk about kinda theoretical stuff as well, but let's talk about something that usually can happen if you set up your site or configure your site, but not so well. There is a Drupal 7 site. The same goes to Drupal 8. So don't get me wrong, both of them are amazing softwares, but still, if you configure something wrong, then there will be issues. As you see, it's just a simple test article, nothing super cool. We are logged in as an admin. As we know, admin can do a lot of stuff. So let's see the same site, yeah, when we are not logged in, okay? Same test article, you can see the URL is the same. I'm not cheating, okay? I'm trying to not. There is a guy who just arrives there and sees something like a form. Wow, that's super cool. Let's put there some name. I am your hacker. Subject, whatever, and comment. What should I comment? Let's try, how does it work? Do you see that? Yeah, do you do? Okay. As we all know, if a script tag can be inserted somewhere, then lots of other things can also happen, especially if we do it with full HTML, right? So we just submitted it. That's called cross-site scripting. Because the code that I just put there got executed. Usually, people don't really think about how serious it can be. There is an article which says literally whatever you all can do with your hands clicking around, messing around, they can do it with JavaScript. Let's see another example. Same website, Drupal 7. It's another node. I am your bad hacker. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, I was prepared, so I will not write it. The whole code will be shared. It is serious. Again, just some JavaScript, we will put it there, and we will see for the first nothing. Okay, not filtered, but full. So the problem comes from the fact unauthenticated user can insert JavaScript, that will get executed, okay? So, we just sent it. Okay, we see nothing. But the dear admin, when he visits the site, he just, okay, let's check, where is it? Find content. I hope I don't execute now. Okay, he's super happy because, wow, he got actually 2 new comments. We are checking your so he just visited that. In the background, all the things got executed. So whenever I just visit again the page, it's gonna be something cool. Look at that. What do you see now? Okay, maybe you don't see anything suspicious, but if I visit it as a UID 0, the site is under maintenance. It's not something that we usually want to allow anonymous users to put our site to maintenance. Am I right? Yeah. The problem comes from the fact the whole stuff got executed by the admin who just visited the page. He didn't even notice there is something. With the same practice, we even can modify nodes. Yeah, not from here. I need the site going back. Yeah. Put the site, no, don't. So we are going back to the node 1. Okay, still it's there, doesn't matter. We visit the node 1 again. And we will okay. Yeah, that's where it gets annoying. I'm your not so good friend, okay, blah blah. And we will put something else. Because when you think about how Drupal works, basically you as an administrator or higher roles that you have access to other, let's call them resources. So you can really execute stuff. And when my code, this story, let's call it payload, gets executed, it basically just uses your authenticated behavior, stealing basically the form IDs, and whatever you can do on the website, it does exactly the same. So I'm just saving this. Okay, that's still there. I think I should remove the previous comment, otherwise we will go back again to maintenance, so I don't really want that. Yeah, okay. And when I visit this page, you see, again, nothing really happened, and I think it's on the node 2 that we just modified, and boom. So even the content can be modified, okay? So please do not give full HTML or whatever name is there that your client figures out, let's call it not full HTML, but lots of things can happen. Please do not give it to untrusted users. That's the message. Not only Drupal 7, Drupal 8 works exactly the same way because the logic behind that didn't really change. So that's a Drupal 8 site. If I put there the same, just as an example with the script tag that I can't really copy, I can, yeah. Then basically it's gonna be the same execution because it's full HTML, and full HTML understands the script tag, and I didn't save it as a full HTML most probably. So yeah, I should have done it like this. So whatever I just do with hands, JavaScript can do it, and basically much faster. Okay, let's get back to the slides because I still have lots of cats. Okay, not from the front. Okay, we are here. Yes, we are there. Okay, so Let's put the whole story, like security, to a big scale, like Drupal Europe. So first of all, in 2013, there was by OWASP a list of the top 10 most serious vulnerabilities on the web, because they are about the web. Obviously, in 4 years, lots of things changed. So there are a little bit different top 10 and the rest. But basically, if you just take the first few, like let's say the first 3, the topics are the same: injections, broken authentications, or stolen session management, and the XSS that I showed. What happens if we go to Drupal, it's a little bit different. We are super happy because Drupal does a lot of things we don't really have to care about. Okay, sorry, it's so disturbing. But the most important for us, based on the previous few years security advisories, are clearly the XSS. That's why I showed you an XSS example, but basically it's just by a wrong configuration. Kind of the second is the access bypass. The CSRF, today we don't really have the time for that. We will not talk about it, but it's basically executing things that you shouldn't do. And we will talk about the SQL injection, just because it's fun. There are other stuff, like if you remember back in March and April, no, February and April, we got remote code execution issues in Drupal core, highly critical ones, got fixed. Obviously, we always just release things when there is the fix. But if you see the progress since 2011, more and more issues are there. Take the look on 2012 and 2015. We got like over 200-ish. The different colors represent, especially the greenish one, the Drupal 7 issues, and the red ones, the Drupal 6 ones. So less and less if you just take the percentage. But from 2016, there is a new color which represents Drupal 8. If you just see like the last 2 years, not including 2018 because we are still not in the end of the year, Drupal 8 is way more secure than all the previous one was, because there will be a lot of new security improvements, and there are already in Drupal core that prevent a lot of things. One of my favorite slide, because it's all about contribution, how many countries are represented only from the last year in terms of individual reporters that ever reported security issues and got them fixed and with a security advisory published on Drupal.org. It's just amazing. There are about 20 countries all over the world. The colors represent how many coordinated even, one issue to be published, and yeah, my small country called Hungary is also there. I'm super happy because of all of you. Let's talk about focusing only Drupal and what are 3 major issues, major type of vulnerabilities that we should take care of it. The first, yeah, the 3 ones will be the cross-site scripting, access bypass, and SQL injections. Okay, the first, which is, as we saw on my screen, the XSS, when something pops up or something gets executed in the background that no one really wants. It's typically a client-side vulnerability, but can affect other resources. Basically, it comes from unfiltered output, and yeah, the best way to never trust any user input, because that can be suspicious and something will later happen. And yeah, we saw some demo. How it worked in Drupal 7, it was basically using different type of check something functions on the input that we got before we put them to the output. So imagine when you got an input from the user, you even stored it, doesn't matter what it was, because Drupal says when you put something to the output, you have to sanitize it. That was the way, saying if it's a URL, that goes furthest, so use check URL, then if it's a plain text, check plain, then rich, like HTML things, check markup, even though filter XSS, then all the things can go to the mainly HTML output. In Drupal 8, as we know, okay, there is Twig. Twig makes everything much easier because it, by default, automagically, you can call it anyhow, filters. Until you don't specify dedicatedly you want to put to the output the raw, but you really have to say you want to do that. There can be a reason, but usually you just don't have to pay any attention what you are putting to the output because it's going to be filtered already, auto. Okay, you saw some papers that I put on the chairs. That's where we will use them. So I will show you codes. Okay, that's going to be with black background. I'm not spoiling. All the codes will be either secure clearly or will have some tricks that makes it unsecure. I will talk all about the codes to understand and to put it to a context. Okay? Issues now are only about XSS. So please do not report something else. That's the first one. Okay? So imagine that's a TPL file. It's typical Drupal 7. Sorry, I know. When we have a title, something can come from a page, can come from a node, okay? And we use a check plane on it. And I'd like to see green or red cards. You choose. Green, green, green. Okay, very good. I see a few red ones. I'd like to know why. Who will answer me? Just shout to the public. Yeah, why it was red? I hope not I got the red card, sorry. So like, yeah. Why it was red? Yeah, but we used the check plane on it, so like check plane, you know? Yeah, it
doesn't check for XSS and HTML code. There's HTML code in the title field.
Check plane still does that. So it's basically green. Wow, it's super bright. Okay, let's check another one. We got a URL. Yeah, please, huh? Don't spoil. We got a URL. It's like super URL with all kind of weird protocols. That's basically the hint. And we use check plane on it. Green or red? Oh, yeah. Very good. We got one green. Are you colorblind? No, okay. Yeah. Sorry. It can happen actually. If they use unsecure hosts, then it can be used for clickjacking. Alternative issue, still in the same field. Yeah, by the way, it's red, still super bright. So the reason why it's red and why it cannot really be accepted as using check plane on a URL type of value, because there is a higher one, which is the check URL. And always when you put to the output a URL type of value, you always have to use the check URL instead of check plane. Get it? You don't agree, huh? Okay. No. That's a discussion. Go for it. Not everything. That's the problem with it. Not clearly everything. That's why I show you this slide. That's why first the check URL comes. So if the check URL would be somewhere here, then you could be very right. But the check URL is the one that, by the way, calls the check plane, but with special parameters to strip out all the dangerous protocols. That's why check URL has to be used on a URL. Go for it. Sorry? Can be used for XSS. Okay. Nice. You are arguing with me. And that's the solution. Okay, let's go for Drupal 8. Yes. It's a little bit longer. So what happens here? We got items from somewhere, and we want to get the body field ish type with just simply with the get, and then put it to a custom theme function, then return it. What could go wrong with this? With that? Okay. Red. Okay. Last time people were like 50-50. Like, what? Okay, it's red, yes. How we can fix this, it's basically with the process text. So when you use here, that you will later on use with a theme, even a custom one, then you make sure the process text will get the format from the body field. As you know, there can be full HTML, filtered, basic, whatever. So it will follow that is set there. But overall, good job, really good job. Then let's go forward. How we can protect our sites against XSS issues? Basically, super easy with Behat and other automated tests. The two given example covers like 80, 85, even 90% of the cases where if you just put, it can test, does it filter or not. Obviously, the configurations matter a lot. So check your filters, please, and user roles, and do not give too many options to too untrusted users, I would say. Okay, next one, which is the access bypass. It's very easy to understand. When someone arrives to your site and can do by intention or accidentally something that he shouldn't. Basically, all menu items, Drupal 6, 7, 8, most probably 9, has something that protects that menu item, saying you have to have either special permission for it, or there is some business logic that checks your user, something happens, and basically gives back a true or a false, saying you are allowed or you are not to do something. Many access systems exist in Drupal, already in Drupal 7 core, which are the node, the entity field, views access control, and so on and so forth. We will test again your knowledge. Here is a code that says, okay, focus on the access argument, says administer my module. So, what do you think about the whole stuff? Is it correct, or it's not, or should it be suspicious? It has one keyword, by the way, but I didn't highlight it. So, let me see some cards. Okay, you are really thinking. Great. Cards, cards, cards. Green cards. Okay. Okay. Mostly green. I see two-ish red. You didn't decide, right? Like something could go wrong. Okay. Fine. Yeah, I'm changing for this. It's basically green. Yeah, the keyword is the administer. If you ever see any administer roles, you can expect it's something that will be given to an administrator or a higher role. But there is one key moment. In Drupal core, most of the administrator and especially the higher administrator roles have restrict, how it's called? Restrict something, anyway, in the hook permission or in the given YAML file. So they really make sure that permission will not be given to any untrusted, even higher roles. Drupal core does nothing. You have to make sure Drupal core does only one thing, highlights on the permission pages to please do not give it to untrusted users. That's all. It always depends on you. If you want, and by the way, for the filters, it turns the same. If you want to give full HTML to your unauthenticated users, please do, but then all the responsibility is on yours. If they will hack your site, just like what we saw in the beginning, it's not because Drupal is unsecure. No, because you have set up the site wrongly. You didn't follow the suggestions. Here is another one. That's a simple DB select. Still Drupal 7. Something similar can be, by the way, in Drupal 8. Yeah, kinda. We are asking the node table title and the node ID of all the articles, and we just throw back all the results. What could go wrong with this, if any? Red or green? Yeah, there is the time. Fight. Okay, I see more green. Okay, there is another green. There is another green. Okay, so let's agree on no one knows. It's red. And I'm telling you why. Because it has to use the node access. Yeah, the tag is not there. The problem comes from the fact if you just ask with db select your database for all kind of node related stuff, it will just give back. But if you use the tag with node access, it will check the user who executes that part of code. Does he have any access to that particular node that we want to give back or not? It makes sometimes the caching crazy. So it can be pretty slow, but if you use like varnish or even on the server side some warming up, then it's going to be okay. It also caches a lot of things. Okay, that's the last one. Yes, that's the last one here. It's a little bit tricky. It's Drupal 8 already. My model that defines not found, and that's the key, a not found URL or URI path, and says it's gonna execute the build 404 stuff and putting the title, and the access is true. So everyone can see the not found page. What do you think? Is it green or red? So like everyone can see the not found. Seriously, guys. Yeah, green, 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 green. It's okay, because it comes from context. So think about if something is not found on the site and the poor user who doesn't find it can't see the not found, makes no sense. Let's say it's okay. Yeah. How you can protect your site against access bypass? There are a few examples, like check and visit all the node pages, other parameterized URLs, and also you can use behat tests, like automating that. Always please use node access, as we saw, or entity access in Drupal 8. Menu definitions, very important. Try to think before you give the true access to everyone. And basically, yeah, the last one with defined node access. Last topic on this chapter is the, injection, huh? So SQL injection, even cats know, seriously, what is SQL injection? Seriously. When an unauthorized access to the database resources happen. Do not trust, and really, literally, any user input that goes to the database. Always sanitize it anyhow. If you remember, like 4 years ago, kind of the same day in October, as I remember, there was the SQL injection in Drupal core. It got exploited in about 5 hours after the advisory and obviously the fix came out. And all the sites that didn't update in that time frame were considered hacked or compromised. Whenever on a random Wednesday evening you see, I mean in Europe, you see that or those two words highly critical, please drop all the beers that you have at that time to the trash and execute the updates, especially on Drupal core level. Please do not postpone it and stuff like that. It's gonna be okay next day, blah, blah. No, it's not gonna be okay. We will check only one. Yes. Yes, only one issue. Okay, it's a typical DB query. Thanks God, it's gonna be totally deprecated in Drupal 9. So we see something with a like keyword from user input, user search. Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't have to talk more. I saw everyone was red. So basically, you should use placeholders. You made it. Okay, how you can protect against SQL injection? Basically, just always use Drupal database API, and if you by no meaning that but really want to use the DB query, please use with placeholder. Do not concatenate. Filter the parameters and check the queries in your code. That's one of my favorite example, just using the undername apostrophe and 1 equal 1, because if the code is just concatenated, then it's gonna be executed always. And you can automatize the whole story with post requests by cur. What we know, there are a lot of security improvements, as I mentioned in the beginning of this session, in Drupal 8. It doesn't mean Drupal 7 is not secure, but it means Drupal 8 is more secure. There is a super great session given by a member of the Drupal security team called Peter Wolonin. He explains everything about, as he chose the 10 most greatest way why Drupal 8 is more secure. There are a few that we also mentioned during this session, like the twig. One of my favorite one, finally the PHP format got removed. Yes. There are already automated cross-site request forgery token protections. Clickjacking protection is also in core, lots of things. As we saw with the years, the diagram, in Drupal 8 cores, not just because there are still significantly less stable Drupal 8 contrib modules, but the issues, and also me as trying to always look for new issues as a security researcher, super hard to find almost anything there, which is not like obvious, then it got reported. Pretty hard. What I suggest, if you want to learn, always check, yeah, maybe not at the night, but next day or a week after, doesn't matter, but always check what was exactly the advisory. Because usually when we publish something, we don't really write down if something happens, then something else happens, then your site gets hacked, but we just release with pretty much minimum information, new security updates. But if you check the code, you can sometimes much more clear see what happens there. Like an XSS can be super easily understandable, like the commit only has adding a check plane. Something like that. You always can learn by these. What I also want to say about the contrib modules, if your contrib is still not stable by any reason, we in the security team will not release anything for it because we just don't cover these models or themes. Only stable models are covered. No alpha, beta, dev, gamma, whatever Greek letters only on the modules that are hosted on Drupal.org. So if your module is on GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever, we don't care. One message to all the maintainers, I hope you are also here. Please, if you are contacted because one of us found some issues in your code, please, I'm begging, somehow be supportive, or at least reply you don't care anymore about that module. Then we will find out the way how it will be updated, or just move it to the unsupported status. Doesn't matter. You will be not less, not more also, but please be supportive with us. We are also for you. So what the Drupal security team does, it's something like this. I love this grid. The members try to help people who really let them help, but after a while they just win because they are the security team. You know, like if there is a security issue, after a while it will be either announced or fixed, or just putting the module to unsupported status. Who cares? I mean, it has to be solved. There is only one more slide where I would like to mention a few modules that you could use on your site. I would say, except a few, do not use them on real live websites because it makes not much more sense. Like the hacked module, yeah, you don't really want to know your website is hacked, but yes, please take it on your own and on localhost use it. Otherwise, if you just use it there and forget to disable it, others might use it as well. Also with the simpletest.me, there are security reviews, password policy, encryption related issues. Nowadays, as you know, in Europe, and it goes much further, the GDPR story, data protection, there are also tools that can make your site a little bit better regarding the new policies. DropGuard guys are somewhere here around. They have such a great tool that can basically automatize all the Wednesday madness that we always have to survive. Composer Security Checker, it's dedicated for Drupal 8, obviously. Permission Report and Text Format Reported are basically reporter modules that can help you. Also, if you use PHPC as the code sniffer, it has a Drupal best practice sniff that also has pretty outdated, so please maintainers support it, has some sniff that also runs on your code and reports stuff that that shouldn't be there. What I also would like to say, I met a few of you during the day because I just got here yesterday. Please attend on one of our great event tomorrow where we will work together and make Drupal much better with the first timers workshop that will run between 9 and noon. Also the mentored and the general contribution sprints that will run whole day. And basically I'm only owing you one more slide, yeah, which has a cat. So thanks. What are your questions? And he will give you a mic. There is one. And there is two. Yeah.
Will the cat jump?
I hope not.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a 3D and something happens. There is a more serious one. But that's
Not
cool.
sure.
Should I get another cat? Seriously? Go for
Okay. Is there some kind of advices to use OWASP tools like
For
the
automation, you mean? Like Zap?
automation in order to test our codes from external, because much
Very
of the
good.
tools you stated are internal one. I think we can use both internal ones and external ones in order to certify our production, our own production to our clients, and it will be much better.
Yes. What I would suggest, and the topic is not really related dedicatedly to Drupal, but more about IT security field, what you basically ask is a penetration test. OWASP has, I think, the best and also open source product, which is called ZAP. Exactly. So ZAP has only one big issue. You really have to know what you do. Otherwise, even the first part that just crawls the site, especially if the site is big, and please use it on your local, again, or dev server or whatever, not on production, it will take a while. When it will really scan the whole website, then it will start to attack. That's basically the main concept of penetration or pen test. To try to find out classical methods how the site can be hacked. What is amazing in ZAP, you can really plug special stuff to there, like plugins. Unfortunately, as far as I know, for Drupal, there is not really any plugins for ZAP, but basically mitigating the fact you have a higher permission. And then, you know, like logging in, then executing all kind of mess, then logging in with another, even more advanced or higher prioritized user, then executing the same. So it's basically a good automation. Unfortunately, in Drupal field, not the best, because there are not really dedicated tools for it. So I personally will always, and already did, when I audit a website from Drupal security perspective, I always go down to the code, because the code says everything. And if the code is messy, then it will take even more time, so like the cost will be pretty high. Penetration tests could bring up some issues, but most of them will be somehow hidden with some permissions. And if the roles are pretty messy, then maybe even ZAP couldn't, you know, find it out. Yeah, definitely. And by the way, always watch out with the false positive issues. There are a lot. By ZAP, amazing amount. Yes.
Thanks for the example of DB select. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So the question is, I'm assuming the DB select on node table is when you should tag with node access.
Say it again?
Should we tag the query with node access only when we're doing DB select on the node table?
Yes, always.
Okay. Is that we should do all the time, or is it when we want to? And why would we not tag?
Okay. If you print out nodes, because we talk about nodes there, but it also turns to taxonomy terms, because there is also a tag. If you print all the nodes out and you really know, you will always do that to admin interfaces, I would say do not use it. But which one is better? Once you will reuse that part of code because it's in a class or comes from somewhere, and you will reuse that method that will represent the collection of nodes in a business logic, and you will reuse it and you will put that to the output again, which is not so well protected, I would put that there always.
All right. In that case, why is that not the default in core?
Because it's DB select, you know, it's database.
Yeah. Well, if table equal nodes, add tag automatically by core.
Because it doesn't only check, I mean, the node access tag can be applied on field tables, which is not a node table, and field definition tables are dynamic.
All right. So it's not only the node table, is
no.
any table.
It's against node.
Things that go
yeah.
attached to the node.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also against node revision, it works. Yeah, and there are a few other stuff where it works, but basically it comes from the tagging structure of the database API. So it has a dedicated access tagging method that makes sure always checking all around. And if you have, for instance, a contrib or even a custom module that even further defines node access with some special business logic, then it will be again executed whenever in Drupal core, contribs, custom, libraries, wherever, that tag is called. So it's more like centralized, but comes from a database API.
Thanks.
Have I answered your question? Great. Anyone else for now? Because I'm going to be here tomorrow as well. Oh, there is last one? Okay.
You were talking about BED tests,
Yes.
and I think it's quite an effort to write them. Do you write them in the beginning when coding or making your use cases, or?
Actually, you ask me personally, I don't, because I don't really write code. But as far as I know, many projects, at least bigger scale projects, started to use Behat also for measuring security coverage, which is like weird because behavior-driven development cannot be really measured like in simple test or PHP unit that can be measurable. But in BDD, somehow they are trying that. But like, defining those kind of scenarios just to put their suspicious code to a field and seeing the result, I don't think costs a lot. Does it? Okay, it does. Anyway, you really have to know what you do in Behat. Otherwise, again, we go back to the penetration tests and lots of false positive issues will be there. So I would say I would definitely go for the automation with Behat or any other kind of tests. But most probably not always. So not all the fields should be checked, but the ones that are really available for unauthenticated users, stuff like this. I would measure from the business perspective. What do they need to protect? Kind of. Okay? If you have any other questions, I'll be here in the trivia night. Try to catch me in the beginning because I really like to drink, but I can't handle. And I'm super happy to see all of you here, and I wish you a very nice evening. And tomorrow, contribution day. Thanks.